that I saw briefly. Um, Puerto Rico is in a process to rebuild and to rebuild effectively. As many of you have seen, we've been historically marred with challenges on the fiscal and economic side. We've started tackling those issues on the structural reform front, making several changes. But then we got hit by not one but two major storms in Puerto Rico. That provoked us to start rethinking and rebuilding a new and modern Puerto Rico, seeing where we had flaws in the past and chronic problems that we could fix, and looking for newer opportunities. And in that context, in order for us to move forward, we need a few things that are important for our economic development. Number one, we need clarity, sustainability, we need uniformity, comparing to other jurisdictions with the United States. And number two, we need tools of economic development for us to move forward and to increase our revenues and our economic impact in Puerto Rico. So today we're happy to announce two efforts that go directly into those directions. Number one, we announce a collaboration to establish estimates of the GDP by the fourth quarter of 2019. We're going to get certain parameters that are going to be in a transition phase, aspiring to have a full estimate of the GDP by 2020. This is a critical tool for us in Puerto Rico, as all of the other states and territories do have those estimates associated, and we don't. By having this, we're going to have more of a uniformity, comparable numbers, and it'll give more confidence to investors that will come to Puerto Rico. So we're very excited about this collaboration, and it goes aligned with other efforts that we're making within our government to be more transparent, more uniform, and provide better data and better numbers to all of our stakeholders. Secondly, we want to announce that through an administrative effort, we are petitioning a waiver for to have expanded air cargo capabilities assigned to Puerto Rico's international airports. In this effort, we have been taking our lead with the resident commissioner to take on two approaches: a legislative approach and an administrative approach. So today we announced that we are submitting that waiver, and this would position Puerto Rico to have an instrument of economic development that is very powerful, that doesn't require federal funds to potentiate our economy, and that does not compete directly with any of the stakeholders in the United States. It allows us to compete in a growing market against other competitors in our region, such as Dominican Republic, Panama, and Colombia, and enhance the overall economy in Puerto Rico. So having said these two announcements, again, as part of a slew of other measures that we're taking, these two are critical to enhancing our visibility, getting uniformity across numbers so that we can talk on the same levels, and giving much needed economic development tools for Puerto Rico, such as those that were established in the bipartisan bicameral report that require or make suggestions for Puerto Rico to have tools of economic growth. Well, this one is a very good one because it does not require additional federal funds. Having said that, and opening up this press conference, I would like to bring our resident commissioner, Jennifer Gonzalez, to make her remarks about this efforts.
Thank you, Governor. I want to thank the governor for his leadership, allowing Puerto Rico to diversify its economy. One of the biggest problems we found during the last years, when the Promesa bill was approved in the House, the Oversight Board of Puerto Rico, it was a report in December of 2016. That report identified more than 20 federal laws that discriminate with Puerto Rico, including the data collection. As a matter of fact, without those tools, it is so difficult for Puerto Rico to improve our economy. So when we arrived, the first thing we did was filing and dropping those bills in a bipartisan way. One of those, to have federal data collection, making the instruction for all federal agencies to gather the information that today has not been taken into account. And in that sense, I'm so glad and happy that the governor finally reached an agreement, working with his leadership with the Bureau of Economic Statistics. I think it is important because that will promote not just data that is going to be reliable, but it's going to help us out in terms of the projections of the future. The other tool, it was the air cargo hub. Puerto Rico has been excluded for the application of the Stevens Amendment. The Stevens Amendment that applies in Anchorage, Alaska, and that can help us out to diversify our economy. Remember that 42% of Puerto Rico's economy is about pharmaceutical manufacturing and medical devices. That 42% needs to have more cargo being moved, not just between the United States, but having our position in the Caribbean to take advantage of the air cargo that can be coming from South America, Africa, and Europe. And for that reason, we dropped a bill during the last Congress allowing to have, by law, the Stevens Amendment. We finally get during the last year a study, an approval of the study in the language of the Federal Aviation Administration, allowing the federal government to make a study about this possibility for Puerto Rico during the last Congress. Even though we dropped a new bill during this Congress asking for the complete amendment, which is H.R. 2357, the Air Cargo Industry Empowerment Act to Puerto Rico. Knowing that today the Secretary of Economic Development of the island, under the leadership of the Governor, Riccardo Rossello, they're filing that administrative way to get that kind of amendment. I think it's the right thing to do. And if approved by the Department of Transportation, and actually I'm part now of that committee, the Transportation Committee in the House, we're going to be working hand by hand with the governor and his administration to make this kind of thing possible. This will allow Puerto Rico to diversify our economy and, of course, to improve our resiliency and our recovery during the last years. So I commend both the agreement today and the statistics that are not being gathered today by the rest of the federal agencies. We finally got the Appropriations Committee to have language in this regard, instructing the federal agencies to actually include Puerto Rico in all federal data. So, Governor, thank you for your leadership and actually in less than 2 years achieving this.
Thank you, Congresswoman, and thank you for your leadership, your efforts in Congress, pushing forward this economic development tool, but also a whole host of others has been very inspiring, and of course will lead us to a great recovery of Puerto Rico. I would now like to